Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm filming my first ever speed build. I decided to do a fairy village in my forest area, but it's something that I've already done on my island, as you can see here. I put it in this small little space between my campsite and one of my villager houses, and it's just a bit cramped. It's not really what I was going for, and I've seen a lot of fairy villages on Instagram recently. I'll leave some links in the description below to those creators who have inspired me for this build, but they're just so much better than mine. So I decided to redo this area. As you can see, I tried to do some perspective work in the centre with the doll's house and that, but you just couldn't really see it. It just didn't come off how I wanted it to, so I decided to just tear it all down. So just enjoy the little process of me getting rid of this very squished fairy village. So now that that's all torn down, I'll show you the little area that I've terraformed for my new fairy village. Just a big cliff with a hole in to put all the little houses in that. And I created this design with the new standee custom design element. It's a cliff edge with a little fairy door in at the bottom, which you can sort of hide behind the trees, which I think is so cute. I've shared the code for it and my creator code on the screen if you wanted to download it. But I'm just going to place it in between these two trees, and as you can see, it works really well in the shade of the trees. Just looks really cute and hidden away. You'll probably see me running back and forth to my beach a few times in this video. I tend to store all of my hybrid flowers on my beaches when I'm redoing my island. It's just an easy place to keep them, and I tend to do my beaches last anyway. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of landscaping on the top of the cliff so that I know I'm going to put trees and bushes, so when I go to place things in the actual fairy village, I will know where to place things that won't be blocked by certain elements, if you know what I mean. And then I'm just going to add some single tile waterfalls, just because they're the smallest ones for the small little fairies. And here I had to extend my cliff a little bit just to make sure that I could fit the waterfall in. You might notice I've left this little one tile space free, which I've actually kept so that I can go in and out of the area just in case I need to pick anything up or anything like that. I'm trying out different puddle QR designs for a little end of the waterfall. I don't want to use actual waterscaping because I won't be able to round out the corners, and I just don't like how it looks when it's all square. I settled on this design that has rocks around the edge, which I thought was really fitting. I will of course leave all of the QR codes that I use in this build in the description down below to give credit to the owners, of course, because obviously it's so much skill to create these QR codes. I can't believe that people are so creative. I wanted to see if I could use something other than the doll's house, because every fairy village I see uses a doll house, so I was trying out different things. In my mind I really wanted to use these speaker things because I thought they looked a bit like tents, you know, like triangle tents and things, but I just think the colour schemes just didn't really work. But I was sort of adamantly trying not to use the doll houses, but that's what I ended up using in the end, just because I really couldn't get the spacing to work with these, although I thought it would be really cute. Maybe if you have a really bright and colourful forest, these would work really well as little fairy tents. I'd love to see someone try it, so if you do try it, let me know. This build was a lot of back and forth for me. I sort of didn't really know what I wanted to do. I ended up sort of reflecting what my island theme was, where I had one area that was sort of a bit more townish with a cobblestone street, and then I had like a little foresty camping area. So this is the entrance with the cobblestone, which I have used in other areas of my town, but I thought it just works so well because it's so small. And this is where a lot of like the main houses are. So I'm just placing down that design. Then I go for more of like a grass path pattern for the more like foresty campsite area. I play around with this a lot because I'm trying to not just do circles and sort of create a bit of a natural shape, but obviously it's quite a small space, so it's very limited in the area that I had to do this in. So again, it's like a lot of back and forth. Here you can see, yet again, I'm trying to incorporate these speakers into my build, but I end up not using them. There's a lot of things that I sort of place down and end up not using. That little bean throwing thing, I think was from New Year's or something like that, and I used it to look like, you know, the big fire pit in the game, like the big camping one, and I think it works really well. It's really effective. I think that's like one of my favourite parts of this build. I also use quite a few of the flower wands because I didn't want to just drop like flower heads down on the ground. I wanted it to be more like a tangible item, and I thought they're just the perfect size to look almost like small little trees or just like small delicate flowers just placed. And I've got a few like fairy circle QR codes, so I've laid a couple of those down to place things in. So really it was just all about getting things placed right and using the right sort of perspective things, like that little tree bounty lamp. It looks perfect as like a small little tree in a fairy area. Really, I think some of the best items to use for perspective builds like this, like for fairy villages, are sort of those handheld items like a pinwheel and the ocarina, like all the little instruments, because they're so small but you can actually place them as items and they work really well to give that perspective of like small little creatures living in a forest. Here I'm just dropping a couple of mushrooms in that. I think I end up picking them up and replacing them a few times, but things like mushrooms and star fragments in that won't actually count negatively towards your overall island rating. I know that's something that sort of deterred me from using things like that in the past, but actually it doesn't matter. I think the skinny mushrooms work really well, as well as the round ones, because, well, the skinny mushrooms kind of look like little trees, and then the round ones kind of look like little stools, and I think it looks so cute. So the mushrooms are a really good thing to use when you're doing sort of like small little fairy things. So I'm just about done placing like the main items in the actual village part. I'm sure I come back and tweak it a little bit, but I'm moving on to doing the top of the cliff, and I'm just going to add in some bushes and flowers and the furniture items. You might have noticed that I didn't use any actual flowers in the village bit, and that's because I just think they're too large and they change the perspective. I added in this festival confetti cannon thing, which is hidden behind a bush, just to give that little bit of whimsy to the area. It's just over where you walk into the village as a human. I'm mainly just playing about with the items that are a little bit bigger but still on the small side, so I'm looking at like small candles and butterfly models and things like that that just add the sort of fairy vibe but still fit in with being within the perspective. I tried to put this Turkey Day wheat thing in so many different places. I think I ended up putting it by that waterfall at the top of the screen, but oh my, it did not want to go anywhere. I also ended up putting a wooden like board QR code here, so it kind of mimics those land bridges that everyone is making at the moment, but it's just small for the fairies, you know. And I add in some more star fragments. I do green ones to sort of blend in with the nature on the top of the cliffs. The flowers I'm using are sort of blues, purples, pinks, whites, things like that, just to add into that sort of fairy colour scheme. I really love using green mums on my island as well, that's why I have so many. They're my favourite flower in the game, I think. I really love this little mushroom wand in this fairy circle. I think it's so cute. I know everyone makes fun of the mushroom wands, but it just looks so sweet. As you can see here, I tend to add in a flower QR code that sort of matches the colour of the flower next to it. I do that just for aesthetics, I really like how it looks, but it also helps to sort of manage the flowers. If it rains on your island, sometimes the flowers will duplicate, and it just helps to keep things like that under control without having to maintain them. Obviously this is quite a small area, so it'd be quite difficult to go up and dig out flowers and things like that. I really wanted to add in this sturdy sewing box because it reminds me of Tinkerbell in Peter Pan when she's stuck in the sewing box, or I think it's a jewellery box, I'm not sure, but where she squeezes out of the keyhole. I just think it's so cute and a nice little nod to fairies in film and things like that. As you can see on this corner, it wasn't letting me place anything, even though I knew I had the space to, so I had to come out, build up the cliff, place it, and then knock the cliff back down, which is really annoying, but I'm glad I did it because I used a butterfly model and I just think it added a really nice touch to the area. At first I really didn't like much of the Mario items that came to the game, but I've seen quite a few people use that small mushroom platform and I wanted to use it just to sort of challenge myself to actually use the Mario items other than the pipe, and I think it actually ended up looking really sweet. I think the green tone of the mushroom sets off the sort of yellowy green in the spring grass. Here I'm planting a tree because I just remembered that I wanted to add a tree in that I could stunt the growth of when it's really small, so that way it would be a tiny little tree, and I put it kind of central. And then I'm just planting some trees just to sort of fill out the area by the fairy village. I'll probably end up doing a little bit of decorating here in the future, but for now I'm just bringing in some trees to fill out the space. I end up playing around with the position of trees around this area just so that it's not too hidden away, but it's still sort of secluded in the forest. At the time I filmed this path, which has been going like viral all over Instagram, hadn't had its fix, so as you can see some of like the main square tile pieces look really weird in the centre, but the creator has since updated their code so that it doesn't do that anymore. So if you have this path and that bugs you, I'll leave a link to his Instagram and his creator code down below. Then you can update your code so it will be a nice smooth path. I did say I wasn't going to put any flowers in the main area, but it just ended up being that one pink lily just to add into that little side bit. I think it works out alright. I'm just adding a little bit of fencing, and what better fencing than the country fence? It's just perfect for rustic areas. I time travel forward a day so that I can get everything grown to the point where I want it to be, and I just add in that fruit nursery tree behind the small little tree just to get it to stay that small little size. It's so cute. Seeing the size of that tree, I sort of played around with a few items behind it just to make sure that nothing was blocked and it all looked alright. So that's my fairy village all finished. I'm just going to show you a few little shots of the entrance. I think that fairy door design looks so good and I'm so proud of myself for matching the colours of the cliff. I also think this looks so cute with the cherry blossom trees. I think right now we don't have cherry blossom trees anymore, and it's such a shame because it just works perfectly with the fairy village vibe. I'm so proud of how this came out. I've never done anything sort of fairy vibe before on Animal Crossing, and it just looks so cute. I think my favourite part is the little bean tossing kit, and all of the little mushrooms and star fragments really add to the sort of fairy elements. I really hope you enjoyed this build. I loved creating it and I really enjoyed the process of voiceovering this, so if you really like things like this, make sure you subscribe for more. Thank you so much. Bye!